You might be asking yourself, what in the hell is Immortals of Aveum? And a couple weeks ago, I had that same question as well. I couldn't figure out what to play next on Game Pass, and I was flipping through the endless options that are on there, and I came across Immortals of Aveum. It looked good enough. It looked different than anything I'd really been playing lately, that being the Gears games and Doom. And I wanted something a little more colorful, so to speak. And this quite literally kind of filled that spot for me. Immortals of Aveum came out in 2023, in August of last year, and it was released by EA Originals. So it's its own thing. It's not tied to anything as far as I know. And that was another thing that really kind of brought me towards the game itself. I wanted something different. I didn't want to play Gears 5 yet because I'm playing with a friend, and I didn't want to play Doom Eternal because I just want something that's not Doom, really. So I settled on this, and it's cool. You play as a Magni, which is essentially you're a magic wielder, and you're trying to essentially bring peace back to the realm. You don't know that you have these powers. You find out you do, kind of typical of any sort of like fantasy game. But it's great. It's actually a lot better than I anticipated it to be. As you can see on screen now, like it's still a first-person shooter, and you have three different types of magic you can use. You have, and I apologize if I forgot the names, but you have blue magic, green magic, and red magic. And then on the right there, you can see like a bar that's totally filled. That's like, I guess you could consider it like your ultimate. And then you also have a shield. That's that blue thing around the screen that you just saw there. And there's me using the ultimate. It's super fun. It's the way you have to match your weapon to the type of enemy that you're fighting is pretty unique and just kind of a breath of fresh air, if I do say so myself. The story, however, is not great. It was good enough to get me through the game, and it's not that I didn't care about the story, but I was more so playing just to play something different that I haven't played before. The story, you can definitely tell it was written by a bunch of Gen Z millennials in the writing room. It was just kind of cringy and like over the top. It reminded me a lot of like, I don't know, the Marvel universe. I'm not a Marvel fan. I think the writing in Marvel movies is pretty bad. And I actually think Immortals of Aveum was a little better than a Marvel movie, but still not great. But it wasn't unbearable. It wasn't as bad as like some of the Gears 4 dialogue, where it's just one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. There is some serious stuff they touch on in this game, and I think it's pretty cool. So let's get into some things that I disliked about the game, and then we'll finish out with a couple of positives. So one of the things I disliked, and maybe it was because I was playing on the Xbox Series S, but the game looked terrible. Like, half the pixels I just felt like nothing loaded in correctly. I felt like I wasn't playing, at 1080p. It felt like I was playing at 720, which didn't ruin my experience, but I'm pretty sure that was a me thing because I got stuck on a puzzle and looked at a guide, and dude looked like he was playing on a NASA computer. You could see every like skin cell on your character, so I think it was a me problem. Moving on from that, the level design. So as you're exploring Avium, there are different portals you can take, and they essentially take you to, it's comparable to like a training ground, I guess. And in this training ground, you're literally suspended in the air, and it's just a bunch of purple like bricks stuck together. It's not very creative. It's not very like inspiring. It really just feels like, oh, let's try to save as much time as we can and just put the training ground in like this random middle of nowhere. That's a pretty common theme throughout the game. The world building isn't perfect. When you're in the air, like there's a lot of platforming that you're doing, and you just feel like you're doing it in the middle of nowhere, just because there's extra pieces of game laying around. So that was one thing that was a big negative for me. The world didn't really feel inspiring, even when you kind of travel to the other world, and I apologize, I can't remember what that's called off the top of my head. It's just not very, I don't know, it's not very inspiring. That being said, the game itself, I played on the normal difficulty, had a good level of challenge to it. A couple boss fights took me multiple times to get it right, but if I would have just known the right combination for the fight from the beginning, I would have been just fine. So there is a level, a difficulty that made the game pretty fun, I think. Another thing I didn't like about the game is early in the game, you unlock the ability to like dash forward, backward, left, and right, similar to like a blink move. Not only that, you also learn how to double jump and then glide. You cannot combine the double jump and glide. So, or excuse me, the double jump, glide, and the blink. So if you're hovering over an abyss and you have already tapped A twice in your hover state, you can't blink from the hover state, which I thought kind of sucked. It would have added a little more fun element, I guess, to the movement aspect of the game, but that was pretty minor. It's not the end of the world, but I did die a couple times towards the beginning because I didn't realize why I couldn't combine my float ability and my blink ability. That's pretty much all the negative I have. I thought the voice acting was relatively well done. The story, like I said earlier, wasn't like, it was cringy, but it wasn't a bad story, and for an original game, it was great. I think online, the 7 out of 10s to 8 out of 10s, I think, and I would probably rate it just underneath that, like a 6.8. It was pretty cringy, and I don't know, it wasn't my favorite my favorite game, but the ending was fun, is kind of what you're seeing right now, and I don't know, something about this game kept me coming back. I'm glad there's no online or anything like that. It really plays well as just a single player experience. The collectibles were not super fun. You're just opening chests, but that's pretty minor. I will say the development of the main character, Jack, who you just saw on screen there, is pretty great. He kind of starts off as this like snide, snarky like kid, and he turns into a pretty respectable man towards the end of it. And yeah, I don't know. Immortals of Aveum was a lot of fun. It was fun to play. The world felt big. It just didn't feel fleshed out. But yeah, if you have Game Pass and you have about 30 hours, that might even be a stretch. You could probably get it done in about 20 hours. I just really took my time with everything. Give it a try and let me know in the comments what you think about it. Send this video to a friend if you've made it all the way to this part of the video that maybe somebody hasn't even heard of this game before, because I know that I certainly had never heard of it before. I was just aimlessly flipping through Game Pass. Thank you guys for the support on the channel and all the videos. I really do appreciate it. And until next week, my name's Kells. Peace.